Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Z-Dog coming to you to talk to you about how to clean a panfish. Now today, we have what some people would call bluegill, maybe a shell cracker. I don't know which one this one is. It lost some of its pigment. So now, I froze these right after they had stopped breathing. And when you do that, you want to make sure that it freezes like quick. You don't want to like have a process of it, or else the meat will go bad. But I did this in good timing. It's preferred to take the guts out, but I didn't do that. But today I'm going to show you how to do this, how to fillet one of these. So we're going to lift up the fin right there. We're going to come in to an angle right behind that ear, and then we're going to come right underneath the other fin that's down here, and we're going to cut all the way up like that. Now you can see I've cut it all the way here to where the spine of the fish would be at, and you can find that spine real easy because the back fin will be there as well. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the blade right down through there. I'm going to tap the tip of it along its rib cage. You can feel the rib cage. It's really not that difficult to do. And then right at the end of the rib cage, which is generally about the beginning of the bottom fins right here, you can literally slide your filleting knife all the way through, just like that. And you can run that all the way down along the spine. And that is about as simple as it gets. Now, I'm going to show you something a little bit different. You just stroke it real gently like. Now you can see the rib cage is right there. The rib cage is right there. So you just run your blade right down through there. Now, you don't want to, when the guts are still in it, you don't want to open the guts. You don't want that. Now that I've done that, I can run it back up the other way. Real gently like. You don't have to dig into the bones or nothing. Just run your blade up along the edges. It'll pop right off of there eventually. And then when you get down here, the rib cage is right here. You can literally run your blade along the rib cage itself, and that meat will cut right off of there. Just like that. Real slow. And when you get more experience, you'll be able to do it even faster. And then you just pull that off of there. Then you got yourself one big fillet. Now, that's only one side of this. Now I'm going to show you how. Now, I didn't take off the scales, guys. I didn't take the scales off at all. Well, I'm going to leave the scales on there. I'm going to show you how to do this. Now, you want to put your finger at the tip, at the very end of it, right here, right? Push down on it. Take your blade along the fingernail, cut down through the meat just a little bit, and then turn it in an angle, and then gently run that blade all the way down. And that will, as long as your blade is sharp, you're not going to have much of a struggle here. And you just run that blade all the way down until it pops right off of there. And there you have a fillet, and then your skin. That's really just that simple. Now I have salt water made up here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put that salt water in there. You want to be able to put the fish inside the salt water. What that's going to do, not only is the salt water going to sterilize any kind of like germs and stuff that may be on the fish, but it's going to give it a richer flavor. It's also going to give it a firmer flavor, a firmer texture instead of, yeah, come on now. I think I'm running up along the bone here. There it is. I'll show you. Uh-oh. I think I might have popped over onto the other side. There it is. Sometimes I might have let that thaw out just a little bit too much because the meat's starting to get soft, which is alright. They say that a couple hours is about the most that you're allowed to actually do that for sanitary reasons and for texture. That meat will get very, very soft and it'll start to decay really fast. Fish is a very fragile meat. Let's just put it that way. It's delicate, so it ain't gonna be like cutting beef or something like that. So I want to make sure I get down there. There it is. You will find that there will be pin bones when you're cutting and filleting. What it is that when the rib cage of these bluegill, they get right down through the center. See, the rib cage starts up here, and then they'll have like a point. It'll come into a point right there, and then it'll drop off. And right up here, there'll be tiny, tiny, tiny little bones. And supposedly, those will cook away in time if your grease is good and hot. There it is. Yeah, I'll cut that. I did cut that a little bit too shallow. Now you see how that was starting to fall apart right there? Alright, same method. Take that, put that in an angle, run that right along the edges right there. If your blade is sharp enough, you'll be able to do this. And if your fish is big enough, legitly, if your fish is big enough, and sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not, there'll be meat on that other side. And then you'll have like a Y cut, because your pin bones, which is running right along here, your rib cage right there, will be right there, and you can cut a Y out. And that's one fish right there. Now I got about 20 of these I gotta do. Run it right along that rib cage right there until I reach a certain spot and poke it through. Run it all the way down its tail. Run that all the way up. I gotta pull that meat right off of the rib cage. It is really best to do this when the fish are fresh. That way you don't take a chance of getting sick and everything else. But I didn't really have time, so I froze them. run that right there. Won't have to do very much with that. And boom, fish. It don't have to look pretty, but make sure your knife is sharp, because you're going to cut through the you are going to cut through the scales. Sometimes it does get a little bit feisty, so you have to watch your fingers. You just run that right down the rib cage. See how that right here, and that rib cage comes out. There's those pin bones right there. And then once you get up over the hump, you'll see that we have this Y right here. You can run that blade right along the edge and it'll peel right off of there. And that one is done. Definitely want to make sure. Now, I told you that if it was big enough, it would have a Y cut. Right there's your other side of that meat that I was telling you about. So stick that in the water, let that firm up. And that's pretty much it, guys. Till next time, this is Z-Dog, fishing with Z-Dog.